Society.
Strangers. Strangers in society.
Strangers on the internet.
The secret.
Strangers.
Society, oh, welcome, stranger.
Secret to society. Strangers.
Society.
Welcome to the secret society.
Strangers?
Welcome back to another episode of the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. Here, as always, Lee with my trusty hosts, Jen and Josh. What's up, guys?
What it do, strangers?
All right, so we're back in the saddle, on the saddle, wherever you sit in a saddle, on a saddle. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
a
no,
horse
you
person.
definitely sit in saddles. Unless you're in like the 1800s, then it's like weird side saddle.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the
they got
women
the
have to
dress
put that.
on.
No
Yeah,
way.
the big
Uh-uh.
dress.
No, I'm
I
good.
don't know. I
to-
still don't trust horses. Like I don't trust anything that's committed to a shoe for that long.
Oh, I love horses. I actually call Red Dead Redemption 2 the horse game now because I beat it.
Mm.
So now it's just me and my horse. I just ride around and like find random shit.
Find other rarer
Yeah.
horses.
Yeah, I lasso horses. I'm big game hunting. I'm looking for all the legendary animals.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
All right. Well, so today is a much lighter episode. There's not much death involved in this one, if any, potentially. Who knows? Maybe not. We are going to be talking about some alien sightings, craft sightings, stuff like that. So, what if I told you guys that people were looking up at the sky for months, wondering what the hell these things flying in the sky were way before the end of 2024?
I mean,
Okay.
I feel like we do that on a nightly basis. You just look up and you're like, well, what the fuck's up there?
Yeah, so this, we'll call it flap for the terminology's sake, happened over 100 years ago. Up to you guys,
Okay.
as always. Is this just speculation? Is it mass hysteria? Is it people lying for clout? I leave it all up to you guys, the listeners. Jen and
Swamp
Josh have no idea what's coming.
Nope.
I always like to prefix that so they don't seem like they're not involved. They are just listening like you guys. First, let's get into some of this whistleblower stuff before we even get with the old aliens. Let's get with the new aliens.
The new aliens on the block.
Yeah. So there is too much stuff going on to keep up with it. So I just figure like every episode we'll just talk about it a little bit, because if we try to do side quests, we're never going to keep up with like the way this stuff is coming out.
No, it's just one after another. Like every day it's something new now. And it's just
Which is pretty
progressively
cool.
ramping up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a lot to take in all those different days. Like it's not just little bits of information. It's like a whole new whistleblower with a whole new backstory and all this stuff that you got to like absorb and like digest and figure out what it really means in the bigger picture. So recently a whistleblower named Jacob Barber came out, who, again, another person, extensive military background. He's former Air Force member, covert intelligence contractor. He did a lot of special operations training, high-level covert missions, advanced security, transportation. Like this guy was in it to win it. Like this was his life. This is all he did. And he has recently come out to say that, well, if you're up on this, you've seen a video of a egg-shaped craft being moved by a manned helicopter. He's the pilot in that helicopter. So he has his
Okay.
whole backstory on a 3-hour interview with Ross Coulthart on his podcast, where, I mean, it's another Grush. It's a whole nother Grush. Like we've been talking about Grush for what, a year and a half, 2 years now?
Almost
And
2 years. But he's like nowhere to be found now.
well,
Where's
right now,
Rush?
but his whole backstory was like talked about for this whole year, and we're just now like exhausted it. We're just now like, okay, we know about him. So we got
Yeah.
these guys coming out now. We have one that came out like 9 days ago, and now we have another one that just came out more recently. And I personally don't even know anything about it. I've been too busy setting this up to watch a whole nother 3-hour interview.
Yeah, that's one thing. Is like these interviews are so long, but like so chocked full of things. Like,
Yeah.
of course they're going to be so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to just go over this stuff quickly so we can stay in the zeitgeist and stay up to things. So what he introduced is something called psionics. And that is essentially what we've been theorizing and saying for months or years, is that there is a government program that employs people with psychic powers, for lack of a better term, to do missions. They are flying craft with their minds, summoning the craft in. It's just so much. It's so much.
Yeah. When you said like getting people with like psychic abilities and stuff, I don't know why, but I just instantly pictured that episode of South Park where Cartman is like fighting other psychic detectives and stuff, and they're just in his
Yeah.
living room. He's just like pew, 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 pew.
I feel like that's
a
what
good one.
might be what's going on. Yeah. So like that alone right there, that revelation like takes a long time to digest. Like, so
'Cause
to
then it
even
was
move
like,
on past that is hard.
is like, so
Yeah.
then that just brings the whole thing is like CE5 actually real and just not like a grift for
Yep.
Greer and his new cruise line.
Mhm.
So recently, this whistleblower, Jacob and Ross, said that CE5 worked for them. And I guess Jacob has seen it actually happen with these psionic, they call them psionic assets. So that's like a person with the ability, and that's their asset. That's what they do. But basically, these people are able to interface with some kind of technology through their mind. I don't know how. And there's weird stuff. I really suggest going to watch it because this is a rabbit hole we could go down forever. He's saying like kids, women, left-handed gay men are more likely to be able to be one of these assets.
Well, fuck, I'm not one of those things.
Nope, exactly why I sit here and not see aliens.
God damn it.
Nope. Just start doing everything left-handed. Everything's just fucking a mess and sloppy.
You're
And
just gonna
shit.
tell your wife, you're like, actually, I'm gay now, and
Yep.
I only
Yeah.
use my left hand.
Hey.
There's so much of that.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot. There's a lot. I really suggest going to watch it. I think if we are going to continue to talk about this topic, the three of us, I think we should do like lives and try to invite listeners to talk along so we can keep it up in real time and get ideas,
Yeah.
because otherwise
That's a
it's never
great
gonna,
idea.
the
Yeah.
medium's never going to work for a topic that moves so fast.
Yeah.
So
And then even with this new whistleblower that was just on with Ross, he was talking about like 7 foot tall mantis creature that abducted him. And when he was talking about his little abduction, he was, I guess not little abduction, like when he was abducted, he was talking about like the mantis creature was like, first off, like it was like annoyed with him because he was trying to like do work. So like think about like
Uh.
you, Lee, as like an veterinarian or vet tech, you're trying to like wrangle a dog and like do work
Oh, yeah.
on it. And it's just
we
not
talked about this all the
happening.
time. Like,
Yeah.
why won't you let me stab you? Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so
I'm
like
clearly trying to help you.
the giant prey mantis, which would
Yeah.
be terrifying.
Absolutely.
Also, I have questions
Sure.
like, how is it doing things? Because they don't have opposable thumbs; they just have like little scythes.
Yeah.
The mind.
The mind. But
Ah.
anyway, so he was talking
Yeah.
about that this creature was like, "Hey, we can't take your soul. We can't steal your soul. Your body is just pretty much like a car for your soul. We can open up the hood and work on like the pistons and stuff like that and make you better and fix you up and stuff, or we could really just fuck you up." I was like, that is terrifying.
Give you a massive oil leak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're just literally just like studying us to see like how we work and like how the soul drives the car, essentially.
Pretty much. It seems that way. Again, I'm a broken record, but the law of one, all this shit falls right into place with everything. They are, again, with this new whistleblower, well, the old new whistleblower, it's talking about like Havana syndrome. Like he had like a severe case of like a radiation sickness type thing. So like all these check marks that we've talked about are just like, okay, now they're like talking about them in real life. And
Right.
there was one thing in particular that he brought up in this interview that we have talked about that scared the living shit out of me. And he clarified it a little bit. So I want to bring that up. We talked about a whistleblower named Michael Herrera, and he was a service member who was in South America. and like came across some kind of covert ops operation with some, couple mile wide long ship, and it was transporting things on and off, and these things looked like they were containers filled with people. Short story. It's a much longer story he tells. That's long story short. Now, this whistleblower, Jacob Barber, kind of confirms that all the tech that he saw lines up with stuff that he knows about. He knows, like, even the way the trucks were like refrigerator units with air and all this stuff. Like, he's like, these are all real things. He's like, the thing that bothered me, or the thing that I felt like I needed to jump in and correct, is that our minds went to the most nefarious place, like human trafficking or like alien abduction, like experimental shit. He
Right.
says he can't confirm it, but the chance that there were people in those containers and they were being moved to the ship, but that they were psionic assets and they were working. So like they do use those containers to move their assets. They're like these super like sensory dampening like cubes or whatever. I don't know what shape they
Oh,
are.
like when you go to like a spa and do like sensory deprivation tanks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these people apparently can like focus on what they're doing and be transported and stuff and moved around. I just wanted to put that out there because we speculated a lot about that and it was like a really scary thing. So I wanted to just put that out there that maybe it wasn't as scary as we originally thought it was. Still
I
crazy.
also think it's slightly refreshing that we haven't had to put a disclaimer on this episode.
No disclaimers. No disclaimers at all. Only disclaimer I have is go subscribe, go like, follow, leave a comment. Disclaimer done. All right, now to the actual historical UFO stuff, right? So picture this. It's crisp autumn evening, 1896. It's in Sacramento, California. The sun just dipped behind the horizon, sky full of stars. All of a sudden, that serene silence is broken by a cigar-shaped object illuminated by dazzling electric lights that is gliding slowly across the sky. Now, the movements defy explanation. They're smooth and they're deliberate. They're unlike anything people of the time have seen. There's hundreds of witnesses, and they're all standing there like, what the hell is this? Is it like some human miracle that we did, like technology, or is it like extraterrestrial? Is the rapture coming? Like, what's happening? No one, to point out also, like, no one at the time has any kind of like extended flight technology.
Right.
Yeah.
So
like
there's like, running
No
and getting
airplanes.
lift for a little while.
It's all
No,
these little
definitely
glider
no
planes.
airplanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Wright brothers don't until 1906. I think the Wright brothers have their first flight in one of those light crafts, which
and the weird Da Vinci looking craft.
which obviously
Yeah.
is not like a hovering, smooth moving cigar shaped craft.
No.
Yeah.
Which that museum's a lot of
19
fun, by the way. The Wright Museum.
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
I've never been there.
You wouldn't think it really would be, but it was awesome.
First of all, you're talking to a museum guy. I go to any museum.
Well, I mean, I was kind of like, I don't know. And Dad's like, no, let's go. And it was, we spent a lot more time there than I would have thought, but it was great. Plus, you're at the
It's a
beach.
sign of a good museum. I went to show you that I'll go to any museum. I went to a bottle museum in upstate New York, Ballston Spa. Literally just bottles, nothing but
I
bottles.
could get behind that.
Yeah,
I love the
It's fun.
smalls. So yeah, the bottles are really cool.
It was cool.
There's
Interesting.
a crime museum like out in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge or whatever, and they have like a couple of like John Wayne Gacy's clown costumes and shit like that.
Huh.
Ooh,
And then there's like a Titanic
crazy shit.
museum, and they have like real relics from
I
the
do
Titanic.
want to go to that.
I've seen
Yeah.
some of the
That'd be cool.
Titanic. They have it all spread out all over the place. I've seen some of that stuff. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's like a weird.
And then so the Wright brothers, they didn't do their first flight till December 17th, 1903. So
Oh,
there was
3.
So
nothing in the sky.
I was 3 years off. That's pretty good. Not bad.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I'm trying to imagine. You just see this, and to this point, you have nothing should be in the sky but birds.
Nope. I
Yeah.
should mention that there are like zeppelins, like
I
there
was gonna say,
are
is there, like,
things like that, but they are
dirigibles?
not nearly as like common or like manufactured like that the normal person would know what it was. So there is a chance that like
Gotcha.
they
So
would
it
see
wasn't a
something like
Goodyear
that.
blimp.
Okay, I didn't.
No. They're actually called something else. I read it in the thing and I figured no one would know what it was, but there's a D word. So it's like
Dirigible?
blimps, zeppelins, and something else. What was it?
Dirigible.
I think that might have been it.
Yeah, it's like a hot air balloon.
Holy
type
shit.
thing.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I just know
See?
useless information.
We all know little bits of useless shit and it all comes together. You see?
I knew it would happen at some point.
I know. It's like that perfect like scrap piece of wood that you've you've
Yes.
had in your house for like 20 years, and
Yeah.
you're like, wait a second. I need a piece of wood that's
Mhm.
3 inches wide and 6 inches long.
I
Gotta
already
keep
have
that
this.
stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why
The
we do
best
it. Why
feeling.
we keep it.
That event would mark the beginning of what became the Great Airship Wave of 1896 and 1897.
Oh man,
It's a
it's about to get real
super
steampunky.
bizarre. Yeah, very steampunky. Actually, we'll be posting
Uh-huh.
some pictures for the people on YouTube to watch. They're very steampunkish, and even the descriptions I go on to tell you about in a little bit. Totally that vibe. But this is a weird, bizarre chapter in like the mysteries of things flying in our skies, and like each sighting gets more weird or mysterious or like interesting. And it all began in California in 1896, like I said. And the first well documented sighting, like I said, came from Sacramento. Then, shortly after that, San Francisco followed. Before long, they were being seen across the country and worldwide.
Hmm.
And like I said, they're not these like fleeting glimpses of like a light in the sky. They're hanging out, and people are getting detailed descriptions and describing features on these. They're describing things like propellers and rotors. In some cases, they're describing seeing crews manually
Okay.
operating these.
See, that was my question. Like, how low are they flying?
Yeah,
They're low.
pretty low.
These are
Because, yeah, when you said that,
there's
you could see
more
the
than just
crew.
sightings. We are going to come in contact
Oh.
with the events.
So do we think that UFOs or UAP or whatever we want to call them nowadays are like they're fashioning themselves by like what would be technologically available at the time? Because like you never hear of like a UAP or a cigar shaped thing with propellers and all this
Mhm.
shit.
Right.
Potentially. Yeah.
And then it
There's
goes
that
into the
like
flying saucer era, and then now we're in like the Tic-Tac egg, very seamless and smooth, futuristic era.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, I have my theories. This is not about this story I'm telling, but my theory is that yeah, they are thought forms, like most of them, and
Mm. I guess it's
if
just like your brain trying to wrap around like what it would see if it was
maybe
something crazy like that.
it could
Yeah.
be, it could be like where there's parts of our like psyche we don't even understand, and it's like built in like protections, or there is like an advanced race or consciousness that is trying to show us like there's more. So there's a theory that like they're all thought forms. None of them are actually tangible, real things, but they are a higher level consciousness trying to keep us questioning and exploring our surroundings. Like if we lived in a world where we knew everything, we give up on like that spiritual aspect of everything. Everything becomes nuts and bolts, and there's no wonder, there's no like push for the human soul to
Right.
advance.
Yeah,
So there's that
no, like,
theory.
evolution, no spiritual evolution, no like spiritual
Mhm.
awakening, stuff like that. Yeah, I
Exactly.
get you.
So there's that theory. I'm tending to lead towards that one right now. It could change in a week. Who knows?
When a new whistleblower comes out tomorrow.
Exactly. And these ships that we're talking about from the 1800s that these people saw made little sound except for what they described as like a mechanical propulsion sound, which
So, like,
again
what we
for
would call a
them,
hum.
I don't know, for them it probably wouldn't have been a hum. It probably would have been like the
That's
Like
what
a
I'm.
rotary
Yeah.
engine or a
you had to
Siemens
turn
or
your engines
something.
over back then. Like you had like they were
Mhm.
big pistons, and So if they hold like they're hearing gears, and I just think like Will Smith, Wild Wild West, giant spider.
It's a great movie, by the way. I love that movie.
So, like I said, these encounters get super weird. They get like from just unbelievable to like really unbelievable. So take this Colonel H.G. Shaw's story. In November of 1896, near Stockton, California, he experienced something that he said he would remember for the rest of his life. He was traveling on horse and buggy. I think that's super cool. And he spotted an airship landed in a field. Curiosity got the best of him, obviously. Yeah. Emerging from the hatch were three beings unlike anything he had seen before. He said these figures were tall and slender, nearly 7 feet tall.
Oh.
They had delicate features with very small hands. Baby hands. He said that their skin was covered in what Shaw described as a fine downy hair. And their movements were eerie and graceful, almost fluid.
So maybe they were the tall grays?
The Nordics? Who knows? Yeah. There's also like the bird. We're going to do, that's going to be, I think, either our next side quest or a whole nother episode, like literally the species of aliens.
Races.
It might be 2 parts. There's so many.
Yeah. I sent you that whole big picture.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a list of like a bunch I want to get into, and that thing is like probably got 60 more than what I actually have.
Oh yeah. And then now they're talking about the Antarctic egg thing. They were saying that there was like a Nordic creature. So like the Nordics apparently look like us.
Yeah. Like
terrifying.
The Nordics for years they said it would be like indistinguishable between us and them. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
So these things are covered in like a downy, like feathery hair. I don't know really what he'll look like. Like
I'm
baby
picturing a baby duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Picturing like a baby duck, or like my son's hair when it's all spiked up and like electrostatic-y.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Now these creatures didn't speak to him per se, but they did attempt to communicate. They gestured, and they said what he describes as strange sounds. They made sounds and just like, I guess, nothing he could understand as words. But it gets stranger because, according to Shaw, these creatures grabbed him.
Love that for him.
He believed that they were trying to take him onto their ship, but
Probably.
Fortunately for him, they weren't strong enough.
Was he left-handed?
Good question. He struggled a little bit and was able to, like, I guess, break free. They scurried off onto their ship, and moments later, they were up in the air and taking off quickly.
It was their tiny hands.
They couldn't grab
They
them.
just couldn't grab things. I feel that though.
And their delicate features. Well, Shaw's story quickly spread. It hit the newspapers, and before long, everyone was talking about this encounter. So that's like the theme for these things, is like not just seeing them. There's some kind of weird contact. Got an interesting one. They're all interesting. I don't know why I say it like that, because they're all
because that was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
this
they're
one
just gonna progressively get more and more.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
This one is about Alexander Hamilton's infamous cow abduction in Leroy, Kansas. No, sorry. Not that Alexander Hamilton. Wah, wah. He's too busy beefing with Burr and like writing his way out of everything. He got time for aliens. No time for aliens. This one took place in April in 1897, and the other Hamilton, the respected farmer, was awoken in the middle of the night by a strange noise, like everyone else that gets awoken in the middle of the night. He goes outside and he sees what he describes as a massive airship hovering above his property, cigar-shaped, bright lights illuminating it. But this one was different. It had a strange appendage coming out from underneath the ship that resembled a mechanical claw.
Oh.
Okay.
So as he stands in this field staring at this thing, and what I can only imagine are his britches, he sees this mechanical arm grab one of his prize cows,
Oh,
lift it up,
No, not Bessie.
and fly away with it.
Oh shit.
Him and his son hop on horseback, give chase. Obviously, they're chasing nothing.
Good luck.
He goes
Bessie.
home. The next
try.
morning, when it's light out, he searches the area and he finds in a nearby field the remains of this cow.
oh,
He finds pieces. He finds. Okay, disclaimer.
yeah, because I'm
Disclaimer.
sad now.
Animal disclaimer.
Yeah, I forgot about the cow. But he finds the cow's hide, its legs, and its
Aw.
head spread
Aw.
out wide across this field.
Oh, so
Rude.
not like your regular cattle mutilation where it's just like
No.
laser cut
At
the
least-
jaw and genitals and stuff.
No, it's
Just
like
literally eviscerated.
and splattered, spread out.
Well, that's
all
what
over the
happens when
place.
you grab Bessie with a giant claw and just fly off
Yeah.
with it. It's probably.
I
got
think
hit
it's
by
interesting
trees
that
and shit.
It seems like it was butchered. Like if you're gonna like you leave the legs, the head, and the hide. Can't eat any of that. Everything
That's
else I'm
very-
taking.
Very true. Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
So yeah,
Um,
and then that just reminds me of that when we did Missing 411, like way back in the day, that we watched the Alien 411 or whatever
Mhm.
documentary, and there was that guy that was like he found like this translucent cube, and then the
Oh, that's
aliens were
right.
like, "We're hunting, because they took his elk."
Yeah. Like he was
Yeah.
like lined up that elk and shot it and didn't hit it.
Yeah,
Another
because
crazy
he hit a force
alien,
field.
which is crazy. But
Yeah.
crazier is that this farmer Hamilton went around the neighborhood, got witnesses to see this cow and tell them the story, and signed affidavits vouching for his story, adding a little bit of credibility to his story.
That's right, because your
Damn.
word was your bond then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Not like it is now.
obviously, chance there's an
Yeah.
elaborate hoax. You could butcher a cow and spread it across the field at night, but the description lines up with all the cigar-shaped ships that we're seeing at this particular time.
Yeah, and if it was his prized cow, like why would you like sacrifice that one for like a
That
hoax? Like
one.
wouldn't you just be like, oh well, I'm gonna go take this sick lame one,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like, again, with the whole alien thing for attention, does it really hold up? Like, you're not going to get the
Especially back
attention you
then.
want. Like, if you're like trying to get attention for your cows and your butcher company or whatever you have, like pretending you're a crazy person that saw an alien take your cow is not going to help you.
No.
Yeah, especially back in like those days, like that stuff wasn't like already like in pop culture and stuff like that. Like we didn't know what
Mm-mm.
No,
aliens,
and
UFOs.
imagine the stretch of imagination it takes to like think about a ship that can seamlessly fly when like your only examples of flight are birds or bugs that are like like using all kinds of force and energy to fly, and then there's just this thing that's like foop, foop,
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Seems very
weird.
elaborate for a hoax for that
Right.
time.
But again, I leave it up to y'all. You ready for a little bit stranger?
Well, let's keep going. Let's keep
Absolutely.
going.
And it reads, in the early dawn hours of April 17th, 1897, the quiet farming community of Aurora, Texas became the stage for one of the most bewildering events of this wave. The incident, richly detailed, obviously, like I said, in the Dallas Morning newspaper, goes on to say the townsfolk were startled awake by the appearance of a mysterious cigar-shaped airship. It struggled in the sky, bellowing smoke as it descended erratically. It crashed into Judge J.S. Proctor's windmill, scattering debris across the farm, annihilating the judge's windmill and his flower garden.
Not the flower garden.
Be
Mm.
pissed.
I love this as a judge, though.
I know, right?
And like Judge J.S. Proctor.
Yeah.
Fucking serious. And what makes this story so compelling is not just the wreckage and the extensive damage. It's what the townspeople find amongst the wreckage and what they do with that discovery after. So amongst this wreckage was the disfigured remains of an alien creature. It was small and fragile, but unmistakably not of this world. They assumed it was the pilot, is what they called it. And despite their shock and the fact that this is a deeply religious town, they gave this creature the respect of giving him a proper burial.
Oh,
Aw.
I've heard about this story. I think you and I have talked about this like briefly one time.
Maybe
where
I probably comes. It comes
Yeah.
up. It's it's a cool story.
Yeah, it's just the one
Um,
where they buried him, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, that's very wholesome.
It is.
So they bury him. They name him Ned the alien.
Shout outs to Ned, the alien.
Right. So apparently, this tombstone was marked with a picture of his ship, and you can find it in the area to this day. I'm going to share a picture of it with you
I
now.
thought you were gonna say his mangled dead body.
No, which I wish I did. I do think about
Why
this
didn't they
story,
dig
and
him
I
up?
think that they should have done a little bit more. Take a toe, take a sample, something. Like
Yeah.
they just straight
Well,
up
why
buried
hasn't
him.
anybody went out to his grave and just dug Ned up?
There are reports. I found conflicting things. I should state that like there are reports that like in the 80s that the tombstone was like messed up and the grave was dug up and stuff like that. But I also find stories that you can go visit the tombstone today. So I don't know what's true. Again,
Right.
leave it up to you. And if you know, comments.
Yeah, if you're in the
Yeah,
area,
someone.
hit us
Yeah,
up.
if someone in wherever Texas. Yeah. tell us.
Aurora, Texas. Yeah.
Aurora,
Yeah.
Do a little investigation.
Apparently, it's a big thing. Like it's like a claim to fame in the town. Like a lot of stuff has happened in this town. It was a World War II, some kind of munitions like
Depot.
big factory, big deal thing. And like
Okay.
people don't even talk about that stuff. Like they're just like, nah, let's talk about Ned.
Ned the alien. Yeah, no shit. Like that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, fuck making.
Let me
ammo
see them
for
aliens.
World War II. Let me see them
Yeah.
aliens.
I got one more in America. Like I
Ooh.
said, these sightings go worldwide. This one, I have just the article, but it caught my attention for obvious reasons you'll see. So this article is out of the LA Evening Express from Wednesday, November 25th, 1896, and it's titled That Airship. Seen by many residents of Red Bluff, Chico, last night, comma, egg-shaped body. Like I'm reading the article, so I'll post this too when the YouTube video is up. Several reputable citizens aver that they not only saw the light, but the body.
Nope.
By the Associated Press, leased wire to the Express. Red Bluff, California, November 25th. Many residents assist that they said they saw an alleged airship in the neighborhood last evening. It was first noticed about 7 o'clock and was thought to be a particularly bright star, but which was moving rapidly in a southwesterly direction towards the mountains. The summit of the mountain could be seen above the mysterious light as it moved west. Soon after its disappearance, a telegram from Chico stated that the supposed airship had passed over that town too soon after 7 p.m. After vanishing again, it passed over Red Bluff, and after making a few turns, it retired in the direction which it came from. Several citizens say that while at first the light was visible, later the body of an egg-shaped object was visible, moving quickly through the air. The theory that it was a star was rejected because of the distinct rocking motion, which was like the motion of a kite, they described.
That's a bumpy flight.
Mm-hmm. The egg is what got me, though.
Yeah, because now there's all this egg talk.
And this is one that is not shaped like a cigar, and it's a light, and it's just an egg. I can't find too much more, though, on that one, which is unfortunate, because I wanted to find out about the egg.
It's interesting that most of these are like cigar shaped.
Yeah, I find that kind of interesting too. Again, is it like just that human like hive mind that's like just one step always ahead? Like in the 80s and the 90s, we were talking about like AI and Terminator, and now like it's scarily real.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we're all just on like some psychic connection that we're all pushing each other forward. All right. Like I said, these things were worldwide. So we can't really talk about this wave of airships without talking about other stuff, other countries. I'll start in Europe, which again, very similar to the ones we hear about in America. There are accounts of airships over Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway. Residents claim they witnessed cigar-shaped objects flying through the skies, often at speeds impossible for the time. in many of these cases, and these seem to be specifically more in Europe, in many of these cases, there's occupants reported on board these ships. And details all tend to be vague though, so no one can really give you like what they're seeing on it, but they seem to be seeing someone operating them.
Yeah, there's no like definitive answer on like, oh yeah, no, it was blah 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 blah. No, it's like, no, I just
Right.
saw something flying this crazy cigar. And this was also like pre-World War II, so like obviously like Germany's not doing anything right now with like
No,
weapons
I
of
mean,
war.
yeah,
There's
we're
no Foo
Yeah.
Fighters, there's no giant like Zeppelins. I'm sure the Hindenburg hasn't happened yet. Like
we're in America in particular. I guess Europe is kind of in the same way industrial wise, but not so much like cultural building. Like America doesn't really have a identity at this point yet. They're still like immigrants are still flocking in by the dozens, and there's ghettos everywhere, and there's
yeah, I mean like we
not
just
full
got our
towns.
independence. Like
Yeah,
not even
exactly.
like 100 years earlier, like
Yeah.
1776.
Mhm.
You're talking about like 1890s. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, there's like this weird mix of like urban and cowboy. Like there's big cities being built in the east, but then like people still living in the Dust Bowl.
Right.
Very strange time. Europe, I think probably not so much. It's probably more like that Oliver Twist time where everything's just dingy and dark and gray because there's smog everywhere.
Yeah, the industrial revolution. Yeah.
And Europe was miserable. I'm sorry. As much as like I loathe being an American,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm here sometimes. Oh, and then we can go all the way down to Australia. These things were seen in the same time period, which I think is kind of cool because they're never really on the map. I don't hear about Australia for sightings much at all, which could be just maybe they just don't find it as sensational. Like Americans
Yeah.
love
Maybe
to
not.
talk about it.
Sensationalize
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
They're very laid back. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got like European things to do.
They're just out in the back in the bush chilling with kangaroos and wallabies and shit. I wouldn't be got such cool shit. Like if you could survive, you got cool shit. I'm not surviving, that's the problem. Day one,
No.
a snake in my boot.
No. As,
Yeah,
as
it's
soon as
literally
I,
a million ways to die in the West.
they got
Yep.
like spiders eating snakes over there. I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, like there's everything wants to kill
No.
you in Australia. Like it was
Yeah.
a prison colony for a reason.
It is beautiful though.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can appreciate it via my computer and not go over there and have a
Absolutely.
giant spider crawl through the
No.
toilet and just kill me.
Oh,
I mean, the snakes come through the toilet bowls here sometimes. You hear stories.
no, they
Yeah,
don't.
this
I
is
don't
why
choose
live in
to
North
believe
Dakota.
that. That never happens.
Well, you down south, it's way more likely than up here.
That's not
happens.
ever happened ever.
No,
Those have
never.
all
No.
been debunked.
Okay.
Fake news.
Everyone fake.
Just
all
like,
fakes.
New York City sewer gators debunked.
Yeah.
I've seen them. They're not
Debunked.
common, but I've seen them. I've seen videos.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, this is one of Australia's most notable sightings from the 19th century. It's from a small town in Australia, and they reported seeing a large cylinder craft hovering in the sky, and it was described as something that represented no technology that anyone could think of. Just like the ones in the US, the physics of it kind of defied logic. It hovered and moved quickly, but at the same time, it was like really smooth. So again, they describe like these like fluid motions, no like herky jerky stuff like you would imagine from the
Yeah.
late
Right.
Just real
1900s.
graceful,
1800s.
fluid,
I'm from the late 1900s.
as your daughter would say. Back in the 1900s, Dad,
Bullshit.
what did you guys do?
Bullshit.
I know.
Yes. Well, tell you the truth, now she's loving that shit because she's listening to all that music right now, and she's like, "You guys had actually good music." I'm like, "Yeah."
Like, yeah, no shit. This is what I've
Yes.
been trying to fucking
Yes.
tell you, little girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, those are the stories I collected for you guys from this. There are more. If you want to hear more, you can always let me know. I would love to take some more and pluck them and give you them.
So I'm kind of pleasantly surprised, but it seems like their technology, even for then, wasn't as advanced as I would have thought.
The
Like, I'm-
ships technology.
Yes,
You
the
mean?
ships. Yeah.
Yeah.
They still seem like, yeah. But what material were they made of? Like,
There's not the material usually comes down to like the texture they describe. So like usually shiny or metallic. There's
Like
never
when
like a true
when
texture they
Ned's
tell you.
ship crashed, did they ever give like a description of like what the material
yeah.
was like?
They just said wreckage and debris was scattered all over the field.
Mm.
I love a good description. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I love that. No, it's just scattered all over yonder.
Well,
No big
and
deal.
here's the thing, that those pieces of the one that crashed in Texas, somebody had those just like stuffed in the barn somewhere, and then like
Mhm.
I'm
generations
sure it's still
later,
in somebody's barn.
or they sold it for scrap, just like,
Yeah.
what's this?
Well, back then too. I mean, I think also if it was alien, some kind of metal, it's probably an alloy. Weren't really many alloys back then. Everything was pretty much like solid steel, or iron or bronze or whatever. And part of me wants to like justify them and say like the whole concept is so mind bending that like focusing on like the pieces of the ship are like almost secondary to like the ontological shock you're having from seeing something fall from the sky. On top of the fact they don't have like the technology to like investigate. Like they can like knock on it, like, bite on it a little bit. Like they're not gonna like put it under
Yeah.
like a super high powered microscope and tell you what it is.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know.
But yeah, it is interesting that like
Weird.
because like nowadays you hear about like the UAPs or drones and stuff like that. There's just like no sound or just like a little type thing. But like these ones was like it sounded like gears were turning, like the
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Like you said,
And it-
so steampunk. Like you just picture the, machinery or, factory equipment from that era.
Mhm.
And that's what I just have in my head of like or almost like I hear in my head, which they wouldn't have had this yet, but almost like an old tractor just like chugging along, puffing smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the old like the Model T engine.
Yeah. I think I can. I
Yeah.
think I can.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, God,
And a lot of the
can.
descriptions are like in that vein. They are extremely steampunky. When you look at these pictures, there are blimps with propellers on the sides, or like a blimp with wings and a tail, like a bird, like the Da Vinci flying device that almost look like
Right.
it's all bending
Yeah.
cloth and reeds. So they are, and a lot of the people also describe the propellers. They're only like reference for a propeller are the twirlies on the back of a boat. Is a lot of them say
Yeah.
like that's what they resemble, like on like the big like steamships.
Yeah, because they don't
Oh,
have
wow.
planes, so they wouldn't know what like the big long like plane propellers would be.
No.
Nope. And even at the time, like I don't think flight. Maybe I'm sure there were some people, but like the concept of giving yourself lift in that way, I don't think was really a thing yet. I think you were still trying to. Even the propellers that
birds.
they did have were still trying to go vertical.
Yeah,
Mhm.
round and round.
Yeah. So again, is it people's imagination? Is it just like runaway hive mind? I don't
I
know.
think it could be like, some subconscious like mental filter that like we have no concept of it. So your brain is trying, it's like, I see what this is. And then your brain is just like making sense of it by like putting like everyday parts that you would see. And then it's that
Right.
steampunk-esque thing. When in
Yeah.
reality, it could be like a crazy fucking UFO, like, and you have no idea because your brain is
You
just
don't know
telling
what a
you, nope,
UFO
this
is.
is just
Mhm.
some weird Zeppelin thing. So you said they did describe Ned's body as like small and stuff like that, right?
Small, fragile. It was mangled, and that's really.
Probably
There's
like
no description of like eyes or any of that stuff.
so. Yeah, I'm just gonna assume it was like your typical gray, like just out for his little joyride,
Yeah.
and he crashed because his little engine just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one of the other things you have to factor is like these people probably are extremely religious. If something's falling from the sky,
It's God.
like, are we supposed to poke it? Probably not. Like, we should probably just
Yeah.
respect this
Right.
thing, get it in the ground, give it its last rites, and let it live. Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever heard of somebody like burying
An ET.
crashed body. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 7-footers. So has there ever been another description of like having the fine hair curious about
Yes,
them.
there is. The answer is yes. Oh, surprise, surprise. They're called the avians.
Oh, because they're bird-esque.
Yeah. So bird-like humanoids with feathers, often associated with spiritual messages and enlightenment, connected to ancient deities like Thoth from Egypt.
Makes sense. Makes
Huh.
sense.
Oh wow!
But
And how many were there? 3.
Mm.
with the colonel, he saw 3 come out of the ship. I don't know if there were more on board, but 3 tried to grab him and they couldn't, and they scurried back onto their ship. I just picture them like
Tiny hands.
having an oh shit moment. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys are fucking dense. I can't move you. What the hell is this?
Yeah. What is this? This did not go as expected, and they all
These
just look at
three-dimensional
each
bodies
other.
are fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
picturing
right.
like the Three Stooges.
Or like, you know when you go to pick something up and it's not, it's heavier than you thought it was.
Yeah.
Like your
Oh,
hand will
all
just like
the
rip
time.
off it, and you're like, oh, what the?
Yeah.
Like they went to go grab him, and like, he just stood there, and he's like,
He's just like, no.
like, oh,
And then they're
he's
tiny
like
hands.
Superman.
They're probably like amazed at his hands. They're like, they're so big.
They're so big. We need his hands.
Me. Every time I play the game, I'm like, man, your hands are so big. Must be nice. I
Wonder
know
how
my
they
kids' hands are
explained
going to
that.
be bigger than mine.
I got giant
Okay.
hands.
I wonder, explaining that when they got back, like how that happened, how they weren't
They
able
just
to
mocked.
like get him.
Mocked
Like
forever.
how
This hairless ape
For light years back
giant
home.
hands.
Remember when Flarg
like-
and Blarg tried to grab the human?
And it's just like, like
Fucking
the fishing
idiots.
story where it's like, I caught a fish this big, and then you tell it to another person, it was this big. So it was like, all that human's hands were this big, but then they were this big.
They got like handprints, like we got like Bigfoot things.
yeah.
There's just like these 3 aliens have a cast. They're like, I'm telling you guys, his hands were massive.
It was huge.
Yeah, so we have an alien race episode that we definitely could get into all this stuff because it's fun.
Yeah.
I got 15 solid common races. I don't know if we need to go into like the subgenres of aliens.
That's crazy. Well, no, I was going to say that probably just opens up a huge can of worms. I'm just like, is it like they're in just different parts of the galaxy, we think? Like living on different planets, kind of like us
Yes
in
and no.
different parts of the world?
There are some that are like that. And again, I think part of this issue we're going to have going forward with disclosure and understanding aliens is that I think people are really going to have to understand that like what we're seeing is not everything.
Yeah. it's just
There are other frequencies or dimensions that things operate in that we're just not part of. And I think that some of these can be, for lack of a better term, going to use higher vibration beings that are able to change. They're more in touch with everything. So they're able to change your frequency to be seen by us at will. Like, I don't think they have to, but they can choose to.
But not to
I also
yet.
think,
not yet, not Lee, not yet.
yeah, never me. It's not gonna happen to me. No, I just it's gonna be like Noah's Ark. All these people just getting on these ships, leaving the planet, and just be like, guys, can you see me? Like, what the fuck?
Or you just look around and you're like,
Watching everybody just-
finally, I'm the only one. I don't
Yeah.
have to
Just
deal with
wait.
people.
I'm just like putting on my shoes and shit. I'm like, wait for me.
And you just get up to like the ramp and it just slowly gets faster and faster.
Oh, so sad.
just one little alien finger sticks out of the fucking door. It's like,
The tiniest alien finger.
Oh,
no. Again, I have all
All
kinds of theories. I think definitely we should do probably 2, like a race and a theory episode, because there's like another theory that if there are those advanced vibrational beings, like they're kind of doing what we do with lower vibrational beings on this planet. Like we make them pets.
Yeah.
And like,
study 'em
Oh.
and
well, we
tag 'em.
study them, but I think also like the difference between like a pet and like a domesticated animal is that like we give pets identity and like individualism. Like, and I think that helps. Talking in crazy ant talk now. I think that helps like the soul individualize itself for like the next stage of becoming like whatever next vibrational thing that is. Like, so
Right.
it's like a school, like, you know, there are packs of wild dogs, like very driven by that like primal instinct. They're packed animals. They're more in tune with like the vibrations of the earth.
Yeah.
And then you get a
It's like-
pet.
Yeah, you can't take a pet dog and just like put it out in the wild. Like it would die so
Mhm.
fast
Oh,
because it
yeah.
wouldn't know how to hunt. It wouldn't know how to do anything.
And you've also
And, like,
given it this sense
my dogs
of
would just not have it.
no.
No.
Most dogs are
My
dying
Fiona, well,
instantly.
she would die if she didn't get a belly rub at least 19 times a day. She just lay there and
Belly
wait.
tax.
You know, but it's
forever.
that's funny, and that's so interesting that like those are the things you say, because like that's part of that like individualism and like isolating emotions and love, and like they recognize that.
Mhm.
Our pets recognize that we're like a pack of wild dogs. Like, you know, you go to a wild dog, a stray dog, you gotta get down, you gotta get low, you gotta get quiet, even though you're like doing all the things you would do to your happy dog that's like jumping on you and it's like, yes, I love that voice. This thing's like, I'm gonna fucking eat you, bro. Come
Yeah.
near me.
Yeah.
Well, like when I was out in Arizona,
yeah.
I would go on my walks and there
That's
was
true.
like this one coyote that would just hang out, and I was trying to like make it my friend. It's like, no, you can't do this with a wild coyote.
But I think you could if you had the time and the patience and were willing to like people domesticate crows all the time, just
I was
wild.
getting ready to say
wild
that.
murder.
I want a
I
I
freaking
want a
crow.
crow friend. Yeah.
My crows, I know my crows. I'm not necessarily
yeah.
like best friends with them, but I know the murder. I know where they live. I leave them stuff. I know they recognize me. Every once in a while, I'll find like a
trinket.
washer or like a
See, it's
weird
what I'm-
like piece of like shiny shell, like an albatross shell or something. I'll find, and like I guess they're leaving it for me. I don't. I assume
Yeah.
they are,
They do
but
that. They do that. Yeah.
but like crows are a perfect example of like wild animals that are just a little bit closer to people than like grizzly bears, for lack of a better example.
I do love watching videos of bears just get into people's fridges and stuff. It's so
Sorry,
awesome.
Yeah.
sorry, Jen. Sorry to my wife, but white women are fucking nuts. As the
Oh, they
videos
are.
I see of white women walking up to full-grown bison, like
Yeah.
what,
Love
bro?
watching
That's an
people get
elk
flipped by bison.
with a full rack.
Yeah.
They could go
No.
through you like 10 different ways, and you're just gonna be
No.
like, "He likes me."
Yeah.
No, I am like the moose whisperer when my dad and I, when we go
Scares
to
the
Maine.
shit out of me. Of course you are.
But we are so far away. We only had one encounter. It was accidental. We didn't know somebody had to
Smart.
pee. We were on this logging road. So we just like pull in to this, thing. Well, somebody's peeing and freaking mama and baby just come like 3 feet in front of the hood of our car, just walking. And so she stops and looks, and I'm like, look, yeah, I see you.
Yeah, man. There's something else when you see them in
And
real life. Like they're
she
not.
went on,
Crazy.
but
They're-
normally we see them from a distance and we stay at a distance because I'm not about that
Yeah.
energy. But
Smart thing to
but
do.
no, I'm not one of those people. But most
People
white
are
women are
nuts.
crazy with that. Like,
They're
maybe I
just
can
walk up
pet
to
it.
things.
Yeah. Anyway,
The
Don't
only natural
with
predator for
nature.
a moose is a shark, which blows my mind. Because like moose, they can swim because they have
can
big
swim,
lungs,
yeah.
so they can go underwater and swim underwater. But there's
Mhm.
like they can fuck up bears, they can fuck up bobcats and fucking panther, like everything. But then they get in the water, and obviously a shark would win.
Can you
So
imagine
that
the
blows
day
my
the
mind.
shark brings home a moose?
we're
Guys,
in
what I got.
we're in a bad climate situation.
It's
Yeah,
like
you just
gonna happen
picture-
tomorrow.
You're just at the beach, and all of a sudden a moose
Thankfully.
just goes into the water.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's the next
You think
movie.
it's a shark fin, but it's like part of the moose's fucking antler.
Yeah.
Sharknado versus Moose-nado.
Sci-fi. This is our idea.
We're pitching it.
I don't
We
want
thought
to
of
be
it
attached.
first.
I don't want to be
I
attached.
don't want my name
Is-
attached.
No, I'm good.
Is Tara Reid
Uh,
still available?
Get me
She's
Dax
still-
Shepard.
Yes.
I need and Kevin
Yeah.
Bacon.
Chuck Norris likes to pop up in those every once in a while too.
Yeah, he does.
Well, all right, guys, that was the great airship wave of 1896 and 1897. I hope you enjoyed it. It was interesting. Like I said, I found it interesting because of the correlation with current times.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody email us or comment
Um,
on any of our things if you're in the Aurora, Texas area.
Yeah,
And you know
yeah.
what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome. And if you aren't in Aurora, but your town has like a cool alien story with like
Yeah.
a monument to the alien, definitely let us know. We are going to hopefully, I'm going to keep plugging this because I hope it happened. Hopefully be in the Pennsylvania area come October
Oh, it's definitely
altogether.
happening.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure it's happening.
It's already happening. I just got to get done with this trip, and then I could book
Nice.
this other trip.
Right. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I haven't done it yet. I tried. I don't know how to do it. Maybe someone could tell me in the comments how to make a wish list for the podcast on Amazon. But we're going to be in some really haunted places, so I want to have the stuff to find some ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And other than that, we have more topics. I got topics on top of topics, guys.
Mhm.
Next one is ghosty paranormal, trying to keep us out of the like depression room.
Yeah, yeah. Because
He's talking about me.
No, I did sideshows, and
that was so
you know,
depressing.
that shit was more
That was
depressing than a lot of
sad.
the other stuff we did.
Yeah, actually.
So yeah, exactly. It's not just you. I put a giant pause on Jesse James and that whole saga because it's literally murder, death, and scalping from beginning to end.
That's how I feel about H.H. Holmes coming up.
Yeah. So I'm saving our dark space for that H.H. Holmes space. Chicago World's Fair. Like I said, October, hopefully happening. We'll be doing some episodes in person. It'll be so much
That'd be
fun.
so sick.
That's gonna be awesome.
Can't wait to do an episode from that Airbnb.
Yes. Yeah, it's gonna be creepy. It's gonna be creepy.
It's probably the creepiest room. That's probably
my
why.
wife laughs at me. And she's like, "You guys aren't gonna be able to do it." She's like, "You guys are not gonna sleep there." I'm like, "We're fucking sleeping there. We got 2 nights."
Fuck yeah, we'll be there.
Oh no, I will.
We'll sleep.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I definitely
little tidbit. It
I've
was
done
used
a
as
lot
like
of sleepover. We've done a few sleepover ghost hunts before.
nice. See,
Nice.
I've like pretended that when I was younger, I never like legit like knew this place was haunted. Like the hotels we stayed in recently though were haunted. I didn't see anything really.
Should do one in my basement, but I'm way too scared.
Well, yeah, we have an itinerary, so it'll be fun. We got a bunch of stuff to do. But if you guys enjoyed this episode and you want more of the airship wave, I have more stories we can tell. If you just like the alien vibe, I definitely have plenty of those we can tell. Like we said, we got some fun stuff on the docket, so looking forward to it. If you haven't already,
yeah,
subscribe, like, share, do all the things.
Email us at ssospodcast@gmail.com with your, crazy encounters, be ghosts, big feet, aliens, what have you.
All the things. If you don't want to be a guest and you want to share your story, we are more than happy to share it on the show for you. So you can email us your story and one of us would be glad to read it for you. Anonymous, not anonymous, whatever you're comfortable with. Social media, hit us up. Instagram is kind of the main place. TikTok's there too. Facebook is also there. We got the things. So definitely find us. All right, strangers. Bye.
Keep it strange.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to join us as a guest, suggest a topic, or have a story you want us to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at ssospodcast@gmail.com. For more behind-the-scenes updates and exclusive insights about SSOS, make sure to follow us on social media. And don't miss out on the fun. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for listening to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. This show is an independent production, researched and crafted by our passionate team. But we couldn't do it without all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Embrace the unknown, for not all secrets are meant to be kept. Farewell, strangers.